Kia ora koutou katoa, Markie here with some more poetry from one of my favourite little book. So I'm really tired and I should go home. I'm one of those kind of, I have to cycle home at the moment, and I think I kind of put it off. I think if I was driving, I would kind of just go and I'd get in the car, but because I have to get on the bike and wrap up and stick a helmet on and all that kind of thing, I procrastinate, and I'm procrastinating now, really. So I should just go home rather than be doing videos, but I feel like doing a video, so I'm going to. So this is part of a series. So this will be the third one, reading and talking about poetry from this little book. So I shall clumsily, in my usual way, though the camera is the right way around this time, but that usually means I end up sticking my thumbs in the screen. I'll try and kind of show you the words as I read them. Okay, so D.H. Lawrence, simply called Snake. Okay, and so we'll read it and then we'll talk about it. A snake came to my water trough on a hot, hot day, and I in pyjamas for the heat, to drink there. In the deep, strange-scented shade of the great dark carob tree, I came down the steps with my pitcher. I must stand and wait, for there he was at the trough before me. He reached down from a fissure in the earth wall in the gloom, and trailed his yellow-brown slackness soft-bellied down over the edge of the stone trough, and rested his throat upon the stone bottom. And where the water had dripped from the tap, in a small clearness, he sipped with his straight mouth, softly drank through his straight gums into his slack, long body, silently. Someone was before me at my water trough, and I, like a second comer, waiting. He lifted his head from his drinking, as cattle do, and looked at me vaguely, as drinking cattle do, and flickered his two-forked tongue from his lips, and mused a moment, and stooped and drank a little more, being earth-brown, earth-golden from the burning bowels of the earth on the day of Sicilian July, with Etna smoking. The voice of my education said to me, he must be killed, for in Sicily the black snakes are innocent, the gold are venomous. And voices in me said, if you were a man, you would take a stick and break him now and finish him off. But must I confess how I liked him? How glad I was he had come like a guest in quiet to drink at my water trough and depart peaceful, pacified and thankless into the burning bowels of this earth. Was it cowardice that I dared not kill him? Was it perversity that I longed to talk to him? Was it humility to feel so honoured? I felt so honoured. And yet those voices, if you were not afraid, you would kill him. And truly I was afraid. I was most afraid, but even so honoured still more, that he should seek my hospitality from out the dark door of the secret earth. He drank enough and lifted his head dreamily as one who is drunken, and flickered his tongue like a forked knight on the air, so black, seeming to lick his lips, and looked around like a god, unseeing into the air, and slowly turned his head, and slowly, very slowly, as if thrice a dream, proceeded to draw his slow length curving round, and climb again the broken bank of my wall face. And as he put his head into that dreadful hole, and as he slowly drew up, snake easing his shoulders, and entered farther, a sort of horror, a sort of protest against his withdrawing into that horrid black hole, deliberately going into the blackness and slowly drawing himself after, overcame me now his back was turned. I looked round. I put down my pitcher. I picked up a clumsy log and I threw it at the water trough with a clatter. I think it did not hit him, but suddenly that part of him that was left behind convulsed in undignified haste, writhed like lightning, and was gone into the black hole, the earth-lipped fissure in the wall front, at which, in the intense still noon, I stared with fascination. And immediately I regretted it. I thought how paltry, how vulgar, what a mean act. I despised myself and the voices of my accursed human education. And I thought of the albatross, and I wished he would come back, my snake. For he seemed to me again like a king in exile, uncrowned in the underworld, now due to be crowned again. And so I missed my chance with one of the lords of life, and I have something to expiate, a pettiness. Wow, I haven't read this for a long time. I find this really moving. There's so much in this. It's so intelligent, this piece. And it kind of makes me think of, people in ignorance that kind of kill snakes, for no good reason. Just because something is venomous, we shouldn't try and wipe it out, just because something can be harmful to humans. But that is often the attitude that people have. It's a very anthropocentric attitude. And interestingly, I've not really studied Maslow, but some things I've looked at with Maslow is that one of the things that he defines people who are what he calls self-actualized, so highly personally developed people, advanced, people that have developed themselves to a higher degree, are much less anthropocentric. I've talked about this before in other videos. I think I must have done, or should have done. So one of the things that people often say is, what good are wasps for? What do they, bees give us honey, but what do wasps do? Well, what do humans do? They destroy the planet. And we think that that belief that creatures should serve us as human beings, and if they actually do have the potential to harm us, then they should be wiped out, is a terrible attitude. It's a terrifying attitude. I think I talked about this in a video about insularity. It's got a picture of an atoll, a little island on the thumbnail. So that's one thing. The other thing about this is I really relate to that sense of privilege when you have an encounter with an animal. And I've been lucky enough to have this a few times in my life. I had a close-up face-to-face with a seal in Paynton, of all places. What else have I had? Funny enough, I actually, when I was walking the Southwest Coast path, two male adders were fighting, wrestling on the path in front of me. So I did have a privileged encounter with that. So I've had a few things, and that sense, and that sense of kind of dignity in a wild creature. He talks about being a king and a god and that kind of thing. But also, I think I'm a big believer in evolutionary psychology, and I think we are, on some level, we are predisposed to be frightened of snakes, or feel a certain sense of disgust. And when the snake went into the dark hole, that suddenly that brought Lawrence. I'm guessing this is from personal experience. I think it must be. Brought Lawrence a sense of disgust. And also, there's issues about maleness in this. It's about men. You've got to be courageous. In modern parlance, the self-talk would be, you're a pussy. Why? Why don't you kill that snake? That's what men are supposed to do. At the moment, I'm very involved with the White Ribbon campaign and an organisation called Tane Rokura, which is all about kind of good men. And not buying into some of these stupid kind of stereotypes. So wild creatures. And snakes is rare. That's the thing. It's really rare to have an encounter like this. So just the language. It's beautiful language. Something to expiate, a pettiness. Yeah, it is a pettiness. So that sense of shame. So much in this, really. This is one of the poems I could just read and read over and over. Well, I do. Look at the state of the book. Look at the look at the dark kind of marks around there. I'm not somebody that I'm very opposed to people that lick their fingers to turn pages. So I don't do it. So this isn't my kind of weathered saliva that's done this. This is, just the turning and wearing of the pages, really. So what shall I read next? Maybe, you could vote. That in the spirit of, this was poems that people wrote for. This one, The Ballad of Reading Gaol, just to give you a little kind of taster. This is so Oscar Wilde. Oscar Wilde was in Reading Gaol. And when he was there was an execution. And the execution is what prompted the writing of this poem. So this isn't the full thing, actually. This is from the ballad, so this is expurgated. What's the word? Not expurgated. What's the... abridged. But the person that was hanged was one of my ancestors. So I have a personal connection to this poem. So we'll have to do that one at some point. But maybe I'll do the full one rather than the abbreviated one. So let me show you the contents. Okay, so vote. Let me know what you want me to read next. If the Lady of Shalott, the listeners, not waving but drowning, the daffodils to autumn, the lake isle of Innisfree, dulce et decorum est, ode to a nightingale, he wishes for the cloths of heaven, remember, elegy written in a country churchyard, Fernhill, leisure, the highwayman, that's one of my favourites, to his coy mistress, Dover Beach, the tiger, which we've already done, stop all the clocks, adults drop, the soldier, warning, sea fever, which we did last time, upon Westminster Bridge, how do I love thee, the love song of J. Alfred Prufrock, if that's how you pronounce it, Cargoes, Jabberwocky, that's one of my favourites. The Rome of the Ancient Mariner, Ozymandias of Egypt, Stopping by the Woods on a Snowy Evening, like that one. Abu Ben Adam, I like that one. Everybody sang, The Wind Hover, Do Not Go Gentle into That Good Night. So that's Dylan, isn't it? Yeah, it's interesting. I watched a video on the meaning of that, which I never really got it, really, but I watched the video and it was about the death of his, the terminal illness of his father. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day when you are old? Name me of parts, the darkling thrush, please, Mrs. Butler, Kubla Khan. Kubla Khan has my favourite stanza of all the poetry I've ever read. I'm not a huge fan of the poem overall, funnily enough, but there's one stanza in there that I just love. Home thoughts from abroad, high flight, journey of the Magi. High flight, see, I don't even remember reading that one. Some speak to me and some don't. The Owl and the Pussycat, I like that one. The Glory of the Garden, The Road Not Taken. I could say a lot about that one because that inspired The Road Less Travelled. The Way Through the Woods, love that one. Anthem for Doomed Youth, Bloody Men. Emmons Sales, Heath in Winter, La Figlia chez Piange, if I pronounce that correctly, The Whitsun Weddings, The Ballad of Reading Gaol, which we just talked about, I Remember, This Be the Verse, that's the only poem that I can, apart from one of mine, which is quite short, that I can actually quote off by heart. Snake, which we've just done, The Great Lover, A Red, Red Rose, The Sunlight on the Garden, The Old Vicarage, Grantchester, Diary of a Church Mouse, Silver, I like that one. Pied Beauty, Prayer Before Birth, I like that one, that's quite dark. McCavity, The Mystery Cat, which of course, inspired Cats, the Andrew Lloyd Webber thing. Afterwards, I like that one. The Donkey, that's my favourite animal, donkeys. The Last Duchess, did that one at school for my A-level. Christmas, The Thought Fox, Preludes, Love, The Charge of the Light Brigade, I Am, The Hound of Heaven, The Passionate Shepherd, I can't remember that one at all. The Passionate Shepherd, and then it goes over the page, To His Love, that's why it doesn't sound familiar. The Song of Wandering Angus, I love that one. She Walks in Beauty, Loveliest of Trees, The Cherry Now, don't like that one. Don't like the title with the now at the end, it's silly. The Flea, Ducks, that's a fun one. And Aaron, I don't know whether it's Arundel or Arundel. Arundel sounds like something from the Lord of the Rings. I've been to the castle. Let me not to the marriage of the true minds. Don't remember that one at all. Ulysses, Snow, I like that one. Let Me Die a Young Man's Death, The Ruined Maid, Toilet, that's a weird one. Futility, The Raver, now we're talking. Tam O'Shanter, yeah, that's another great one. Love's Philosophy, The Song of Hiawatha. I used to ride a horse called Hiawatha. God's Grandeur, Chocolate Cake, Jenny Kissed Me, Blackberry Picking, I love that one, that's Seamus Heaney. The Prelude, Warming Her Pearls, yeah. So that's your 100. So vote for what you want me to read next. And I will, even if it's one of the ones I don't like. I'll do it if you vote for it. Hope you enjoyed Snakey and Rangimarie.